Like when you're really starting to try to ramp into a new habit, activity, hobby, you're trying to adopt a new lifestyle. If you don't do it every day, you're going to go backwards because you're fighting a losing battle right now. And every step you take is a step out of the hole. It's not even a step up, right? You're not even elevating yourself higher. You're just getting yourself out of the deficit. Good morning, friends. I woke up at 2:45 this morning and about 15 minutes earlier than I normally get up. And let me tell you, that is the ass crack of dawn right there. You know, 3 o'clock is already pushing it, but going to 2:45, eventually going to 2:30, maybe even going to 2. I don't know. Because my schedule's starting to change coming up in October here. And I'm going to be stacked with people from like 6 a.m. until like probably 3-ish p.m. And I need to get my workout in beforehand because, you know, if you're in business, you know very well that if you try to put something towards the end of your day when you have the least amount of energy, especially when it comes to self-prioritization and investments, it's probably not going to go very far. You know, like think about how people invest money. They always say, pay yourself first. Well, let's take that same ideology and put it towards your health, right? Are you paying yourself first in regards to your health, or are you paying yourself last? And look, if you're out of shape and you don't want to go to the gym, and you put it at the end of your day when your energy is at its lowest, most likely, you're probably setting yourself up for a system of failure. So I recommend you get your ass up and do it first thing in the morning, even if you got to go to bed a little bit earlier. And if you're having a bad relationship with sleep, which means you're starting to delay your sleep and stay up later because you're trying to look for entertainment vehicles, you're probably not living a life of purpose and fulfillment. So I would argue that you probably need to extend your reach beyond just the sleep and the health itself, but also think about long-term goals and what you're pursuing in life. Because I get excited to wake up every morning, which means I get excited to go to bed early. It feels like it's a treat going to bed early. It doesn't feel like I'm taking away something from myself. So when you get to that point, that's when results will fly and you will live a life of meaning, my friend. So 2:45 it is for me, eventually probably gravitating towards 2:30, maybe even 2 o'clock. I don't know. Yeah, that's that. We got some back today. Happy Monday. Let's get after it. I'm going to run through this workout fairly quickly because I want to get 20 minutes of cardio towards the end. So we'll do about an hour of a lift and then we'll do 20 minutes of cardio. And yeah, let's get to it. Zooming through this workout today. I'm just trying to get everything in before probably like 6 o'clock-ish, so it's about 5:45. I've just been cruising through, so I did some barbell rows, a few sets of that. Didn't go too heavy. I did warm up a little bit with a band, which I didn't show beforehand, just doing some retraction work. I've done it in other videos where I take like a big, like braided blue band and I hook it to a cable and I do like some reverse fly action go up into a Y shape, help me with that retraction, help open up my shoulders and chest. So I did some barbell rows after that, and then I did like a seated, like two-handed like row, a little bit more neutral grip with that. I did a dumbbell pullover. Now I'm doing a single arm on a machine from a high-rise position. So when I'm doing any type of back motion, I just try to get all planes of movement. So think about wherever your elbows are coming backwards, I try to get all ranges. So I try to go neutral. I'll try to get one coming up on an angle, which I'm going to do after this. I'll try to get one coming down on an angle, and also do one kind of pulling over and then going to the outside. So as long as I can get at least one of every one of those movements and exhaust that part of the muscle, I'll be good to go. You're good back development. So I'm feeling pretty good today, even due to the lack of sleep that I had. I mean, I went to bed at like 8:45, but I woke up at 2:45. So I don't know, do the math on that. I think it's like 6 hours, give or take. So definitely need a little bit more sleep, but you know, you got to get shit in when you can get it in, and much better than working out in the evening, I'll tell you that. So wake up early every time, I'll take that, check that box. So I'm going to finish up doing a couple more things here. I'll do 1 or 2 more sets here. And then I'm going to do some some incline dumbbell rows. So I'll go on an incline, get more of a high pull with the elbows, maybe hit some reverse fly motions, and then maybe call it a workout for the day. All right, time for some cardio here. You know, I've been getting back on my cardio game as of recently because I've been slacking a little bit. I've been like putting it as low priority, especially coming out of like prep, you know, going into more of, we'll say, a growing phase, right? So I usually lower my activity a little bit, lower my training volume, lower my cardio, and allow my body to heal, because I know I definitely got some kickback post-show in terms of digestive stress and also a little bit of residual joint inflammation. And those things usually go in tandem, because when you have any type of inflammation starting with the gut and your digestion, it's going to seep into the rest of the body through your vascular network. And what it's going to do is it's going to cause inflammation to spread to all parts of the body. And generally speaking, when you come out of like an intensive cutting phase, which means your calories are very low, your activity is very high, you're putting the body underneath a lot of stress. You know, think about if you have a business, right? And you overwork your employees but pay them very little. You know, some of those people are going to quit, or they're just going to break psychologically, right? Same thing with your body. It's like if you're pushing it through the extremes but not giving it enough food to keep up with that sort of activity, you know, obviously one of the benefits of that is weight loss, but at the expense of also putting your body through enormous amounts of stress. And usually, we'll say about 4 to 6 weeks after a show, you get this like downstream effect that takes place where you'll start to have some digestive issues. And it's just a kickback from your body, like kind of surging out cortisol to try to recover all those joints and connective tissues that have tried to sustain that type of strain over long periods of time. And I've definitely felt that. I would say, come on. I would say it's just starting to turn the corner with the joint pain and stress. And it's not like severe, it's more like achiness, like almost like it feels like it's kind of dry. It's not like a sharp pinpointing pain like injury. It's more of like everywhere in the body just feels kind of achy. So putting back into cardio, another advantage, we'll say, of doing cardio is the amount of inflammation it can help you clear from your body, because you're just getting everything circulating. So definitely keep it in even when you're kind of growing. It doesn't need to be high intensity. Like as you see, I'm just walking right now, 3 miles an hour, 3 incline, nothing crazy. walking with a purpose here. I love walking outside, but you are subject to variable cadence, which means when you start walking outdoors, you're not really walking at a consistent pace. Sometimes you stop, you speed up, you slow down. Very seldom do we keep the same pace. On a treadmill, you're forced to keep the same pace. And I'm not saying that you should always do it on a treadmill, because there's many other advantages and benefits of doing it out in nature outside. However, it just fits my schedule. And also Arizona gets fucking cooking. Like I would say from May all the way until, we'll say, October, we're pushing, anywhere from, we'll say, 85 to 120 degrees, sitting within that threshold. So walking outside can be a little bit of a challenge. And I don't want you to limit yourself, especially in terms of consistency. You don't want to limit yourself based on environmental factors, which means if you live in a cold state even, and you do your cardio outside or you're used to doing that, you may be subject to weather conditions, and that'll throw you off track. So you want to kind of take out all that variation that could take place and just have something that's fixed. Because when your body's going through change, it needs things that are constant, right? It needs to understand what you're doing. It doesn't need variability. A lot of people think you need to confuse the body. It's like, you need to confuse the body. That's how it changes, right? That is the biggest myth of the industry right there. It's like, why don't you just think about it common sense wise for 1 second, right? It's like, hey, you want to help somebody understand something. Maybe you should confuse them. Makes zero fucking sense, right? If you want your body to do something specific, you don't confuse it. You learn to partner with it. You teach it like a dog, right? You teach it what to do, and then it'll work with you instead of against you. And this is a force that operates around the clock for survival. So you need to make it seem like losing body fat and maintaining muscle is part of your survival. And that's based on the conditions that you put it through, all the inputs, right? So making sure that you're doing things that are aligned with those conditions is what will help make that result happen. You need to learn to make your body work for you instead of against you, right? Imagine you open a business and you hire people and you say, all right, do the job. And they're like, well, what the hell is the job? What do I do? What's the systems in play? Like, how do I deal with people coming through the door? How do I deal with transactions? How do I deal with fulfillment, right? There's so many variables there. You can't just throw somebody into it and say, figure it out. That's confusing them. You throw random shit at your body and you say, hey, do something with this. Help me get to this goal. Give me all these random things, right? It's probably not going to work in your favor. So I definitely recommend learning to train it, learning to work with it instead of against it, and being able to constrain as many variables as possible to make sure that happens. So I've definitely found myself on the other side of the spectrum at one point, changing things constantly. There's one thing that trumps that, though, more than anything, and that's going to be understanding that huge philosophy I always speak to, which is feeling over finish, right? Feeling not finish. Is if you can't feel something, it's probably not working, right? Which means the only feedback system you possess is your sensations when it comes to exercise, especially when you're new. Like, you don't really know what these things should really look like. Maybe you don't even understand how the muscle looks internally or how it functions exactly. So you need to go based on how it feels, right? Position yourself on a machine and try to feel the movement. If it's a chest exercise and you're not really feeling your chest, well, then you probably need to keep making adjustments until you feel it there. And that may be a big curve of learning when you first get started, because your body's still developing, right? You're still developing that sensation, that sensory input to those muscles, and that could take some time to develop the finesse, develop the feeling. But even when it comes down to like designing some sort of split, I would say probably the best is like a sort of 4-day workout split, right? And for most people, it's going to probably work out to complement their week. So Monday, Tuesday workout, Wednesday take a break, Thursday, Friday workout, and then take off the weekend. That gives your body plenty of time to recover, because recovery is the other element in play that people neglect. So if your results are at a standstill, whether it's weight loss, whether it's building muscle, you're probably neglecting the factor of recovery to allow your body to actually do what it needs to do to evolve itself to that next phase, right? To lose body fat, to build muscle. And if it doesn't have enough recovery periods, like you're not getting adequate sleep, maybe your body's really tight and tense, you have a lack of mobility, you're not really stretching enough, you're not drinking enough water, you're not eating enough food, right? That will definitely play a significant role in your progress. So, like I said, constraining all those elements, making sure we have some predictability. And it's funny, I was talking to my wife the other day about this. Very often In business, we talk about metrics, right? You need to understand your numbers, where everything's sitting, and you wouldn't leave it up to guesswork, right? But people very often leave their health up to guesswork, and that just kind of baffles me. Like, you don't know what you're eating, you don't know what you're doing, right? You're just kind of shooting in the dark, and then you're expecting to just land a big win from that and get great progress. It's probably not going to happen, right? So you do need to constrain the elements. You need to make sure you're actually moving in a functional direction, because otherwise, if you're doing shit at random, you're probably going to get random results. And that ain't good. You wouldn't want that in business. You shouldn't want that with your health either. So making sure you have all those ducks in a line. So I try to go within reason too. I don't try to be too rigid when it comes to planning now. And that just comes with time. Like, there's stages of mastery, we'll say, right? There's the apprentice phase where you're just kind of learning, you're absorbing information. There's a creative active phase, and that's kind of where you're putting yourself out there, you're experimenting a little bit, trying out your own methods. And then there's a mastery phase that when you find that right method that works for you, you can really do it almost like thoughtlessly, right? And you can do it and replicate it and teach other people that style. So my training philosophy has always been centered around that sensation of feeling. And if you can't feel something, you're probably not, like I said, engaging it effectively. You're not using it effectively. So it's going to hinder results. So you definitely want to make sure you're constraining things from the start. Don't follow within a rigid system, but kind of more so go based on the way it feels. And I promise you, if you follow that path, you will see enormous progress. And that's what will hinder most, is they just get into the metrics of everything almost like too intensely, where it's like, look, I understand you're trying to hit certain rep range. Well, you shouldn't be doing 30 reps of an exercise, right? It's probably too light then. But going around the border of, we'll say 10 to 15-ish, that's probably a good zone to stay within. But 10 to 15 wrong, or, doesn't really mean anything. You know what I'm saying? 10 right versus 15 wrong, or 15 right versus 10 wrong, right? There's so much variation with that too. So just make sure you're doing things right. And what I mean by right is, do you feel it or do you not? And if you don't feel your chest, when you're trying to train your chest, you feel your shoulders, you feel your elbows, you feel the back of your triceps. Well, then you need to keep adjusting until you feel it where you should. And then over time, certain things will start to feel better than others as your body starts to reposition itself. Maybe you have postural constraints. Maybe your shoulders are too far forward, which is collapsing your chest, and maybe you can't actually feel your chest, right? In that case, there's definitely other elements like posture braces and corrective movements that can help with fixing the body and opening it back up to allow for more range and more activation. Okay? Yeah, that being said, happy Monday. It's always interesting, the energy you get here on like a Monday. You got everybody coming at the start of their week. They got good quality energy. They're like, all right, let's get started with the routines. Let's check the boxes. And most people are pretty much in the same training style, I would say. When you come in the gym, it's almost like a cultural experiment. You come in the morning time, you get most of the type A people or the regimented people or the people that value some quality of investment mentality that makes them want to invest into themselves first thing when they wake up, right? And I can't stress to you how important that is, because if you're putting it towards the end of your day, you're probably not going to do it that effectively, right? I would say think about your energy like a metering system, like a battery on your phone. You know how you see it's at 100% when you wake up in the morning, you charge it, and then slowly over the day, it starts to whittle itself down. Now, depending on how much activity you do, depending on how much stress is applied to your body, how much you're thinking, how much you're active, it's going to eat away at that battery. It's going to eat away at your energy. And then you're coming to the gym at the end of it when you got like 25% energy left, and you're like, I'm going to get a good quality workout because I need to change the way that I look. I need to get stronger. I need to look better. I need to lose weight. I need to build some muscle. It's like, what do you think is going to happen if you only give 25% of your energy into something that you consider to be a priority? Doesn't really make much sense, right? You want to go at it when your energy is at its highest so you can give it the most quality attention possible. And I would say, look, if you look at your life objectively, if you got a good quality relationship, your business is doing well, but there's one area of your life that you feel like there's a deficit in, and that's going to be your health, the way that you look, the way that you feel, your energy levels, well, then you better prioritize that first thing in the morning. And I know you could think, oh, well, that's very uncomfortable, starting my day with the thing that I want to avoid the most. And I'll tell you, that's how you get the most dopamine. That is how you feel the best. Dopamine comes when you do things that you don't want to do and you complete them. It doesn't come from doing things that you want to do, right? It comes from a massive surge of activity, or it comes as a massive surge after the activity that you've been avoiding, the thing that you didn't think you could do or that you don't want to do, and then you complete it and it gives you a sense of fulfillment, right? So that is what you do. Because when I wake up in the morning, I immediately have dopamine knowing that I'm going to do this thing, right? I don't get it after the fact. I get it like almost like at the beginning of it because I'm excited. So I encourage you to do the same. And I would say, look, I've done this for about 15 years. And I will say I've never met somebody who has been in the back half middle ages of their life that has been effective at training later in the evening time. It has to be the mornings. I'm telling you, it has to be the mornings. And just because it matches up with your body's natural biological clock too, when you go towards the evenings, your body's ramping itself down to go to bed, right? It understands that. Like you're going to be going to sleep, right? So you think you working out around the time where your energy is taking a dip and you've already invested it out into many other things in your life, you think you're going to get a good quality result from that. You're probably not, right? You need to change the mindset around that. So work out first thing in the morning. It's like a secret weapon, you know? And it's funny because most of the people that I work with over the years, like, I don't know if I could do that first thing in the morning. It's like, I'm tired. It's like, you're tired because you don't have anything that's forcing you to go to bed earlier, right? But the key is you're not going to want to do things just for no reason at all. You're not just saying, I'm going to make an entire life change without any hard stricken appointment or time that I can't negotiate. If you leave it up to being negotiable, you're going to self-negotiate, right? It's going to happen, right? So how do we make sure that doesn't happen? Well, that's why I say, like, start off working with a coach, start off working with a trainer, you know, first thing in the morning. That way you're accountable to someone else's time instead of just yours. It makes you more inclined to show up. And that external source of accountability will slowly become an internal source of accountability. And it will irrigate your life with results. You know, that will be the end game there, right? Because you want to do something consistently over a period of time, then you're going to probably need some sort of source of accountability, especially if you're not doing it, you're by yourself right now, right? So if you're busy, that's all the more reason to use it, right? You're trying to, when you try to figure this stuff out yourself, I promise you, this will be the hardest fucking thing you've ever done in your entire life, because it has to do strictly with you, right? It's not just a cerebral activity. It's physically, emotionally, and mentally taxing all at once. You have to stay motivated, you have to stay on task, and more emotionally compelling, right? Physically, you're putting your body through stressors that it's not used to doing, right? And then mentally, you have to keep your eyes on the goal, right? You have to show up, you need to think, be constructive. You can't just come in here and mindlessly lift weights. You got to be like at full attention, be concentrated. So like, it's very taxing, and you're not going to be able to do it by yourself. I'm sorry, it's just a reality. You're 6 times more likely to become a millionaire than you are to get abs. So I want you to think about that statistic. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage by trying to do this yourself, especially if you're busy. You know, if your time is valuable, then that's what you should pay for, is you should pay for your time back by outsourcing this activity to somebody with more expertise that can help you get the result that you're looking for in a shorter period of time. So I encourage you to look for that. So yeah, getting back into it. Yesterday was a personal hygiene day for me. I kind of took care of everything I needed to get done I was putting off. And it's very interesting. I tend to think on weekends I'm going to relax, but then I just feel like I can't some days, you know? I almost feel like not an incessant need to be active, like I'm restless, but almost like I have energy and it's sitting there because I'm so used to being active throughout my day. I mean, I'm active like 12 hours a day minimum on my feet moving around. So when I remove that stimulus and I try to relax, I'm just like, why do I feel like I should be doing something? And that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Like when you get into the cadence of exercising first thing in the morning, your body's just going to feel like it wants to do it over time. So if you're concerned with consistency, just know that it does come with time, and it will get to a point where this becomes automatic to you. You know, it's just like If you started a business, there was ramping periods to your motivation. There was ramping periods to your work ethic. At first, it felt like it was very stressful and difficult to work, 10, 12 hours a day. But now it just seems the normal. Now, if you take a week off, you'll feel like, holy shit, I feel like I'm missing something, right? You will adapt over time. You just have to allow yourself the opportunity to do that. So if you're avoiding anything in your life, maybe it's not even working out right now. Maybe it's something else that you want to pursue in your life. Just know that if you do it, you have to do it, number one, every single day. You have to have things that you do every single day for it. Because if not, it's going to fall off, right? Especially in the early stages. Like when you're really starting to try to ramp into a new habit, activity, hobby, you're trying to adopt a new lifestyle. If you don't do it every day, you're going to go backwards because you're fighting a losing battle right now. And every step you take is a step out of the hole. It's not even a step up, right? You're not even elevating yourself higher. You're just getting yourself out of the deficit. So it'd be like if you're trying to pay down debt, right? Well, we're not talking about investment debt. We're talking about like bad debt, right? You got to pay it off every single month, right? Because if you skip a month, what happens? That interest compounds and you go even further into the hole, right? So if you don't keep up with something like your health, you're going to keep going further and further and further into that hole. So I encourage you that if you're having trouble doing this, number one, do it every single day. Number two, do it in the morning. Okay. And number three, find an external source of accountability, whether that's a friend, right, to help you get to the gym, or if you want to do it the professional way of things and actually see results, then hire a good quality coach that can force you to get to that result that you're looking for. Build that consistency over time, let it become a habit, and then over time see the changes that you're looking for. But all right, friends, this cardio is coming to an end for me. Got a good old 20 minutes in. You see how simple that is? Pop up here, watch a show, watch a YouTube video, maybe even do some work on your phone. And that time will fly by on that cardio. But all right, that's going to be it for me. I'll see where this video takes me. I don't know, maybe it's the end, maybe it's not. Maybe I'll do some more filming at home. I guess we'll find out. But for now, I'll see you later.